Each morning, at the sound of these sirens, 7,000 people begin their work here at the largest industrial complex inside Milan. Even this 130 feet high tower is too low to enable us to see it all. Let's climb even higher with our helicopter. This is Innocenti, a rectangle a mile long and a third of a mile wide. We have come a long way since the distant 30s, since the astonishment created by those first towers with their revolutionary application of steel tube and an ingenious universal joint. This is the first factory in which development and research into various new uses for steel tubing were accomplished. Vein irrigation systems, rationalized housing fixtures, structures of absolutely complete safety, quickly assembled and cheaper than wood. While these towers rose higher, the man who had foreseen the importance of steel tubing to the growth of industrial society could see that he would have to do one thing: make the machines for making the tubes. It was in this way that Ferdinand Innocenti entered the field of big engineering. Then there were other sirens of war, leaving destruction, desolation, and silence. Then everything was rebuilt and work was resumed by day and by night. 1947, the first Lambretta is born, an engine and two wheels, just right for everyone coping with the hardships of post-war travel. Already contemplated during the war period, designed as a far-sighted industrial project, constantly perfected technically and stylistically, the Lambretta has quickly become a part of the everyday scene, an exquisitely social appliance. Right from the start, the Lambretta begins to collect a harvest of memorable feats. The fabulous voyages of lone heroes to the most distant parts of the globe. Impressive participation in audacious sporting events. The unbeaten world record of 125 miles per hour. International rallies with hundreds of riders through dozens of different countries and thousands of miles traveled. So far, 3.5 million of these machines have been built. Exported to 120 countries, the Lambretta is also built on a license in Spain, Turkey, Brazil, Colombia, the Congo, Iran, Pakistan, India, Ceylon, Formosa, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. It takes just 50 seconds to build one. Watch. Once again, we need the helicopter to get an overall view of the sheds in that sector, which has made the name Innocenti world famous in the sphere of big mechanical engineering. Here begins a spectacle on a grand scale. These pieces, moved by bridge cranes capable of carrying 200 tons each, will by tomorrow become rolling mills, presses, complete ironworking plants, or machines destined to produce other innumerable types of machine. A 5-tips torch, automatically controlled by an electric eye following a specially prepared blueprint, cuts out the components which will go to make up the welded structures. Are born the frameworks of big machines. Due to the welding process, however, certain interior strains are produced in the metal. A sort of temporary unbalance, which is cured by a special controlled thermal treatment in a giant oven at 1200 degrees. The cooking time is varied to suit the type of metal and completely restores the original structural equilibrium. We now enter a hothouse in which the flowers are giant machine tools. This specimen is a planer with a stroke of 40 feet. Surfaces of higher accuracy are produced with this plane miller, whose 4 headstocks can work simultaneously. This turbine rotor ring has a diameter of 47 feet. At the moment, it is a guest in a vertical boring mill, one of the largest of its kind, driven by 27 motors. Weight, 500 tons. Accuracy, 1/2000th part of an inch. We called it a guest because this turbine ring happens to be just one of many similar articles which other companies frequently send here for special machining on equipment which only Innocenti possesses. This giant lathe is also a rare item, accommodating work up to 50 feet long and 10 feet in diameter. Just a drill, but it can make holes over 4 inches across. Gears of every size, type, and description, but all of the same high precision. Otherwise, the slightest deviation multiplied by the hundreds of gears a machine could contain would soon become enormously magnified. towers up to 18 feet long are ground by this machine to a surface accuracy of 1/2000th of an inch. We have now arrived at the very summit of precision and power in the field of large-scale mechanical engineering. Innocenti milling and boring machines, used by the greatest names in world industry, can be described as having complete versatility. Assembly and testing are executed in a special shed kept at constant temperature. The bed on which these towers will run is finished to an accuracy such that the geometric errors do not exceed 1/1000th of an inch. The part to be machined can also be run on a second bed, which can be moved with equal precision. Or it can be fixed to a rotating table accommodating diameters up to 50 feet. Let us see them at work at their manifold tasks. Destined for the creation of other machines, this one, for example, is busy making a copy of itself. All the operations are controlled by an electronic center. This receives impulses from a previously coded perforated tape and will make every movement automatic, not only of the operating spindle, but of the whole machine. Here are a few striking illustrations of the versatility of these giants. Internal boring in places difficult of access. The high precision machining of a generator rotor. The slots are cut out and then shaped in a completely automatic cycle of operations. Countless accessories are available or readily realizable for these machines, extending their flexibility to incredible limits. This one, for example, permits the machining of a turbine stator, automatically producing an internal spherical housing. But simpler operations also can be advantageously done due to their power and speed. Right here is the brain center. Here, they are planning for the future, in step with the advance of technology and in collaboration with the greatest names of engineering in Europe and overseas. Every scientific resource is used for checking what is done today or what is planned for tomorrow. Chemical analysis. Microscopic examination of every material to be used. Non-destructive testing using X-rays or radioactive sources. When the demands of safety require it, testing to the limit of destruction. This electromagnetic vibration test bed is the altar on which will be sacrificed the body of a Lambretta. A stroboscopic lamp helps to reveal the pattern of vibrations regulated in time and intensity by a programming device. This colored water is merely a photographic diversion we thought up while waiting for the body to crack. It has now traveled the equivalent 200,000 miles of pretty rough road. (1957). Across the Atlantic begins Innocenti's biggest undertaking, the construction for the Venezuelan government of a complete integrated steel plant on the banks of the Orinoco River. A few hundred miles from the equator, the silence of the savannah is broken by the racket of the bulldozers. The undertaking is a total one, from foundations to buildings to machinery, amounting to $350 million. 279 ships operating for several years provide the shuttle service between Italy and Venezuela, unloading a total of 485,000 tons of material. After 36 million working hours by a daily average of 2,000 men, the plant goes into operation. The Orinoco plant carried two names, Italy and Innocenti, 6,000 miles from their homeland. (1960), a new stimulus to the company's development plans, the signing of the cooperation agreement with the British Motor Corporation. Thus, the name Innocenti makes its appearance also in the automobile market. The first model, the A40, is also the first successful issue from the new assembly line. A journalist names it the long-awaited car. Then came the fulfillment of one of youth's dreams, the Innocenti convertible. Then the IM3, the car of refinement, with hydroelastic suspension, no springs, no shock absorbers, no maintenance. The same system applied to the succeeding I4, the advanced car for the average owner. And finally, the Mini, the car which provokes the sin of envy. Let us see one grow. Offcuts are collected at conveyors running under the line of presses. Under the watchful eye of the telecamera, they are then compressed and sent along for remelting and reuse. the data center, made up of two third-generation computers. These perform not only scientific calculations for the technical people, but also elaborate the data for production control and financial administration, the payroll for the 7,000 employees, and the commercial invoicing, which exceeds $150 million a year. Up to 60% of the machine output is exported. This four-high reversing cold strip mill being assembled is an integral component of a steelworking plant for Greece. Calculations, tests, and inspections must assure in advance the perfect efficiency of every complex, which shall and must function only at its final location. Neither would it be possible to do a complete functional test of many isolated parts intended to work elsewhere in conjunction with others, as for example the supporting ring for a steel converter. A careful determination of temperature is required for the exact measurement of the diameters. The exact positioning of the components of the structure is optically inspected. The scene changes from week to week. Now on the same spot, they are assembling and checking a perforating rolling mill for round bars. In the front line of modern ironworking technology, Innocenti creates and produces plants for continuous metal casting, a system which eliminates many of the processes of classical smelting, so arriving more rationally and cheaply at the finished metallurgical product. Inspections, checks, tests. Shipments to every continent. Let us look in at some plants in actual operation. A hot mill for steel sheet and strip. Cold mill for grain-oriented silicon steel. A Sensimir rolling mill for stainless steel. Over 200 of these are in operation throughout the world. The unique arrangement of the rollers inside the housing allows considerable reductions of strip thickness at very high speeds, over 2,000 feet per minute, with production costs held low due to the very short stopping time for roller changing. Also in the rolling of light metals, aluminium and its alloys, Innocenti is in the field with complete plants. clicking of the telex signals a steady stream of orders coming in from all parts of the world. This one from Moscow is for 142 presses for a car factory which another big Italian firm, Fiat, is building in Russia. Value of the order, $30 million. From Algeria, a semi-continuous mill for sheet and strip, the coordination and general responsibility for the plant and the erection of the buildings. Value, $20 million. Nearly every day, specialized vehicles pass through our gates. Their loads all carry one name only, destination, the whole world. The man who gave life and energy to this enterprise is remembered here today. Each morning, the sirens call his people to work. Other sirens in other continents call other people to work on plant and machines which bear his name. Although absent, his work is not ended. We carry on.